you today. This is the podcast Unveiling Journeys. And if you've been following along, you know that I'm a huge, huge fan of the power of referrals. And that is mostly how I meet a lot of my guests. I ask these amazing people that I've been introduced to, I say, hey, who else do you know that I need to know? And by the way, I have someone that you need to know, which is exactly how everything went down for me to meet Ral today. She has an amazing story, and we get to talk about where her journey has brought her, and she gets to kind of into all of that with us. So please welcome my guest and my new friend, Ral West. Hey, how are you doing today? Way over there in Alaska.
I'm doing great, Tiffany. Thank you. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you.
Oh, well, thank you. The first most important thing we want to know is a little bit about who you are right now and what it is you're working on. And then we're going to go backwards in time and talk about how it is that you journeyed into going that direction.
Oh, okay. Well, who I am today is, well, my name is Ral West, and I have a business that's just under 2 years old called Ral West Living the Dream. And the reason it's called that is because my purpose is to teach entrepreneurs how to have a successful business and live a dream life,
Hmm.
which I believe is entirely possible. And I've proved it for myself and other people that I've helped. So today I'm working on promoting an online course. I'm about to launch a mastermind and just doing a bunch of things to get the word out so that I can reach as many entrepreneurs as possible.
I love that. The biggest part of why I was enjoying hearing your story when we first met was how far you've come, the neat things that will crack into that you've done in the past, what you're doing right now, but that you've turned this corner of like, gosh, how can I help more people? How can I put the word out there? I've developed these systems and these amazing processes, and I want everybody to know about it. And I thought, how do we make that bigger? How can we tell more people? Number one, I got to get the word out to have you on here. And then let's
Yeah.
do this. Tell me a little bit more about like, did you go to school for doing what you do right now? Um, take us back to the beginning of where this started.
The School of Hard Knocks. So the nickel tour of my life is that I was born and raised in Seattle, Washington. My family was involved in Alaska tourism. So in my mid-20s, I moved to Alaska to take a job. And then I moved on. I started off in Ketchikan, which is way far south in Alaska. And after about a year, I decided to move north to Anchorage and start my own business.
Hmm.
And so that was in the early 1980s, which means that I've been an entrepreneur for well over 40 years.
Wow.
So please don't do the math as to how old I am. But anyway, I started with this tiny business in Anchorage, met my husband. He started picking my brain and started a company using some of the ideas from what I was doing, because I was helping people in tourism with their marketing and advertising. And some of my clients were located in Hawaii. And
Mm.
he saw me flying off to Hawaii to meet with my clients. And he's like, hey, I like going to Hawaii and I want to go there on a business trip, like free. And so he figured out a way to merge his real estate background with what I was doing in tourism and started a little company. I was in on it from the beginning because I was advising him and counseling him. But we got married, soon after. But I said, okay, we're not working together. I've got my own business, you've got yours. But it didn't take him long before he broke me down and I started working in his business, which of course was our business by then. And we grew that little tiny business, which we started from nothing, and we grew it to 8 digits in annual revenue. And over a 25-year period, it was quite a substantial business. And then we ended up selling it to Alaska Airlines.
Ooh.
So, yeah, so this business, we ended up being a scheduled charter airline. So we chartered wide body jets and ran them between Alaska and Hawaii, carrying over 35,000 passengers a year between the two states. And it was incredible. And that's the ground on which I, broke my broke my teeth, chewed on the training wheels and everything to learn how to set up the systems and how to go from being the mom and pop company to
Mm,
being able to walk away from the day to day and get out of the grind, stop being the exhausted, overwhelmed entrepreneur, and step back to be the owner and let the business run on its own with all the systems and the team and the culture and everything that we had developed. So once we were able to do that and brought in managers to run the place for us with everything that we had established, the company just kept growing and growing and growing, and we were able to jet off to our second home on Maui. We had a yacht that we cruised around on, and we traveled the world in luxury style, and that was the beginning of our live in the dream.
yeah.
And we haven't looked back. So we sold that business, but then we kept pivoting into other industries and deploying our resources and using the same principles that we
Mm,
used in the first one, and have been able to run several businesses at a time, and yet still maintain our lifestyle where our time is important to us, spending time with family, spending time traveling, doing what we want to do and living life on our terms. That's what it's all about. And that's what I want to teach people how to do, because I see so many that are really engulfed
mm,
in their businesses, and they don't get the time off. They don't take care of themselves. They're
yeah.
like I was. They don't go to the gym. They don't work out. They don't have a healthy lifestyle,
Mm.
and they're stressed. And I understand that because I was there, and I want to help them out of that spot.
Right. You are speaking life into all the entrepreneurs or business owners that are listening to this episode right now because they're thinking, wait a minute, I don't want to admit it, but I'm like a tired business owner, or I'm revealing to myself that maybe I am lacking these principles of foundations of taking a little bit of myself out of being the most important part of the business. That was something a mentor told me years ago, was like, Tiff, if you are irreplaceable, how are you going to let someone else run your business? You have to be allowing these systems to be put into place. And where would you say people should start? Because they're already thinking, oh my gosh, I need to know you. I need your advice. What are some of these nuggets that you want to share with them? Were these processes, did you invent them yourself? Was it a system you jumped into?
I didn't invent them. I learned from others. I had many mentors along the way. And however, it took me a long time to pick up all these pieces.
Right.
So what I'm offering is, all of it in a nice, neat little bundle, so that people don't have to go through the years and years of learning and
That's what
experimenting
it's all
that I
about.
did. Yeah. So one of the great mentors that I had for many years was Robert Kiyosaki. And we started studying with him way before he became famous for writing Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he directed us to a book called The E Myth by Michael Gerber.
Mhm.
And we devoured that book, and it was a lot about establishing systems
Mm,
and developing ways for you to duplicate yourself, so
yes.
that as you were just saying, if you're the only one that can do anything, then you are limiting the growth of your company. And there's no way that we could have sold our business to Alaska Airlines if John and I were still trying to do everything ourselves. There's just no way. There wouldn't have been any value in the
Mm,
company. So if you're building a company and you'd like to have an exit someday, whether it's passing it on to your heirs or selling it, or whatever your exit strategy is, you need to get yourself out of it so that the business has value on its own. And the way to do that is to start with establishing systems, which
mm,
means really taking stock of what it is that you do day in and day out. What does your week look like? What does your month look like? And what are some of those tasks that really could be portioned off for someone else to do? And that means you need to dig into the details of, what are your tasks? What's the low hanging fruit in
mhm.
terms of what could be handed over to somebody else? But you can't, the delegating is an art, and you can't just hand off a bunch of tasks to somebody and say, okay, there, I've delegated, now I'm done with that, and walk away. Uh, that doesn't work. And that's why a lot of people say, oh, I tried delegating and it doesn't work, so I can't do that. I've got to do it myself in order to get it right. So what I say is, no, you just got to learn how to delegate better, and then it will be right. So delegating properly means really spelling out what it is that you want done, What is the end result you're looking for? Paint a picture of what that good job looks like, set a time frame for it, and make sure that you're setting reminders for yourself to follow up. You don't
Ooh,
just set it and forget it. You have to follow up. And I love using Ronald Reagan's expression, the trust but verify. You
yeah,
have to do that. And if you miss that step, then you're going to get what you get. So you have to maintain the responsibility for that task until it's done. You don't have to maintain the doingness of it, but you're still responsible for
mm,
making sure that it's carried out in the way that you want. And so those are some really basic things that you could start there and then move on to, like, how can you get leverage? How can you find leverage for yourself? Technology, letting other people do some of your work. So delegating, hiring a virtual assistant or
mm,
other staff, making sure that you're outsourcing what you can, like to a bookkeeper or to a marketing agency. Um, Making sure that you have a good team. Even if it's people who are not employees, you still have a team.
right.
Like, my virtual assistant is not my employee, but she's part of my team. So is my bookkeeper, so is my CPA, my marketing people. That's my team. So, at one point when we had the big company, we had like up to 50 or more employees. Well, we don't want to do that anymore, but I still have to have a team.
Yeah,
And then you have to carefully craft your culture. What do you want your company to stand for? What are your principles and values that you want carried out throughout your organization? How you deal with your customers, how you deal with your vendors, how you deal with the rest of your team.
mm,
Those are very important pieces that oftentimes are overlooked. And I think people end up with a culture by accident instead of on purpose. And I believe in very, very purposefully and intentionally building the culture that you want. And the culture needs to match you. You need to build it around your personality and your values. And I even go so far as to say you need to build your business to support you and your lifestyle instead of the other way around.
I
And
love that.
I think it's a mistake. I mean, I didn't start off by doing that, but now I'm thinking, oh yeah, if I'm gonna, any business that I start or maintain these days, it has to be supportive of my lifestyle, or I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
That's that. So, you know, that
Oh,
those are
totally.
some of my big pieces of advice. And I teach 6 principles, and these are the 6 principles that when I scanned my 40 plus years of entrepreneurial experience, I went, what are the things that we did that really made our business stand out and be successful? And these are the 6 principles that I found, and they are timeless principles. So it doesn't matter if it was 40 years ago or today or 40 years from now, these principles will still be the rock solid foundation of a business that has sustaining success.
Yeah.
Now, the technology and the methodologies and so forth will change, but the principles won't.
Hmm. I love that. One thing that you mentioned is where you've gained all this knowledge, which I think is the culmination of what us as leaders, as entrepreneurs, business owners, what we do. We take and we learn from everywhere. And what you've done is you have paid for your education and in some cases paid for your lack of education, right? When we
Oh
have go
yeah.
through the school of hard knocks, right? I tell
Oh
people, hey,
yeah.
listen, you're going to pay one way or the other. You're going to pay for ignorance or you're going to pay for education. And what you've done is you've created this little world of all of the best pieces that got you through it all, through the mistakes. And now you're like, this is it. This is what I believe people should walk into. And now this is something that you are presenting to them to say, hey, I cracked the code on what it is that makes it duplicatable, repeatable, removes you from the process. And
Mhm.
I think you did it in, you've made it into like a course so that they can step into something no matter how frazzled or crazy or little or big that they seem, that they
Yeah.
can apply these principles right with what you've invented, right? Or you've put together.
Yes, absolutely. The course is easy, and you know, it's all online. You can take it at your own pace. They're all video lessons and worksheets, so you can do it. It's a do-it-yourself kind of course. I'm not going to walk you through this is what to do for your business, but this is the concept, and here's I give you guidance on how to apply it to your business. If you want more help, then I'm developing a mastermind program where it'll be more of a, do it with you. And I'll be guiding you for, 12 months out of the year and, work with you in a small group of other CEOs and business owners. And that's a lot more in depth. But you can choose whether you want to just get your feet wet and just take the course, or you want to go whole hog into the mastermind program.
I love that. I love that you're putting all these things together for people to be able to walk into. Tell me, I want to circle back just a tiny bit. When you sold your business, that you worked so hard to invent all this stuff up and grow with your employees, you freed up the time. I know you told me that you didn't just stop there. What did you then start to move into and apply these principles over and over again with the next businesses you started jumping into?
Yeah. Well, after we sold the Hawaiian vacations, we started investing in small cruise ships. And as I said earlier, my family was involved in Alaska tourism, so I was familiar with little cruise ships taking passengers to Alaska. And we became aware through some industry contacts of a couple of ships that were bank owned. So their operator had gone bankrupt,
Wow.
and a bank had them sitting tied up at a dock in Seattle. And we knew that they were there, and so we talked to the bank about it, and struck a deal. And it took over 2 years to actually purchase the ships, because the first time around we hired a team to dive and measure the hulls, get the thickness of the steel, and we found that it was not up to Coast Guard standards. So we went back to the bank and said, we need to adjust the price because we have to spend X amount to get these ships, seaworthy again. And the bank said no. So we said, okay, well, enjoy.
You're
You can sit
right.
on them for a while. And a couple years later, another bank had taken over the assets of the first bank that had said no. Mm. And they said, do you still want those ships? And we were like, well, no, we've kind of moved on. We're not, I don't know. But anyway, we made a run at them and were able to pick them up for like 18 cents on the dollar compared to what we were willing to pay for them before.
Wow.
And so we ended up with two little ships, under 100 passengers. They needed a lot of work to get them ready for passengers because they'd been kind of just like sitting rotting at the dock.
Mm.
Um, and so we got them ready and found a little cruise operator in Seattle who had some small ships, and we said, "Would you like a couple more to operate?" And they said, "Sure." So we basically leased the ships to them, and they operated them, they marketed them, so we didn't have any responsibility other than plowing the money into them to make them ready.
Right.
And then a year or so later, there was another cruise line that went bankrupt, and we were able to step in and buy the assets from the banks that held the papers. And so then we had five ships that were operating with this one little cruise line in Alaska. And,
Wow.
well, they operated in Alaska, Mexico, Columbia River, and the cruise line is called Uncruise Adventures. They do a fabulous job. So for about 10 years, we did that cruise ship business. But then COVID came, and we had one ship left because we had been selling them one by one to the cruise line because they wanted the ships on their balance sheet. And we said, yeah, that's a win-win. We can do that.
Right.
And so March of 2020 came, and we got the phone call that said the ship isn't going anywhere. It's tied up. We can't make the lease payments. So yeah, so that was our sign that it was time to exit the cruise ship business. And so after that, we looked around, we did a lot of research, and decided that multifamily real estate was where we would go next. And
You're you're flipping cruise boats, little baby cruise boats, and you're like, "Well, if I can flip a boat, I think I could go to property." It seems like the other way around, like, maybe if I flip a house, I could flip a cruise boat, and here you are starting with something unheard of
you
in my mind. I love
like I
it.
said, the principles are the same.
That's what's so great is that you're explaining that you can take these systems and put them into anything that you really wanna apply to, and
Yeah,
I want I want people to hear and feel that I can't even imagine going and flipping a little boat, but at the same time, I could, right? We could do it with multiple things, and you are striking that, like, visionary thing with people to let them know they're missing out, right? If they don't have the right
yeah,
systems in place because then you walked right into then your next venture. Tell me about the doors.
Yeah, well, we joined a group to learn. I mean, we were starting off kind of blind, and we'd done a lot of real estate. We had real estate holdings in Alaska and Hawaii, and we had them for uh, a long time. We started investing in the early 19 or mid 1990s. So we weren't new to real estate, and my husband had been in real estate before, but multifamily syndications, that was a whole new bag.
Mm,
So we needed to learn about that. And we joined a mentoring group. It was Brad Sumrock's Apartment Investment Mastery. We joined his millionaire multifamily mastermind because I said, okay, we need to fast track this. We want to go all in. So we're going to join the group of the movers and the shakers. So we did that in the spring of 2021. And within a couple of years, we had invested in 23 properties across 5 states, representing over 6,000 apartment units.
wow.
And, it's not easy. And I caution everybody that there are high risks involved in doing investments. I mean, our airline charter business was incredibly risky. The cruise ship business was very risky. So is real estate. But you have to be able to, evaluate the risk and, don't risk more than you can afford to lose. It's painful to lose, but, if you can sleep at night knowing that, well, we'll be okay. We won't be out on the street if we lose here, then go ahead. And, there's a lot of learning.
Yeah.
We've learned a tremendous amount in I guess it's been 4 years that we've been involved in the multifamily investing, and there's a ton that we've learned, ton of mistakes that we've made, and we just keep going. And I'm not sure how long we'll be in it, but the industry's been hit with some really hard times with the interest rates rising, and property taxes and insurance have just really hit the cash flow. So we're not cash flowing these properties like we thought we would when we went in, but we're not giving up. And who knows what the next pivot will be? Well, I did start this new business 2 years ago, so that's one little pivot. But
Oh, yeah, and the mastermind, that's gonna be huge.
yeah,
You're gonna be
yeah,
able to pour this culmination of all of this knowledge from multiple sources through you with your wisdom of your highs and lows into the people that you're able to have probably a certain level of, like, a high level of someone coming in that isn't gonna question you to death, but at the same time, take
yeah.
action with every step that you're doing with them.
Well, that's the key. I mean, I can't help anybody who's not willing to do the work that I am recommending that they do. They can't just listen to me and expect the change to happen. You know?
Hands down.
I
Hands
mean
down.
I mean, there were people that I would recommend that book, The E-Myth, to, and
Mhm.
they would read it and I'd say, "Yeah, that's great. Are you using some of the strategies?" "Oh, no, but it was a great book. I really enjoyed that book." Yeah, but yeah, are you doing it? Well, no. So it's like, okay, well, what good was reading the book then?
Right,
You know?
right? Oh my
So
goodness.
you really do have to take action. And I think that's one of the things that sets us apart is that a lot of times we've, learned things and then we apply them. And,
Absolutely.
there you go. Um, Now, I've learned things about being healthy and, losing weight that I haven't always applied. But
Guilty. I love it. I love it. It is
but
what we know what to do, and we're doing our best, right?
yeah. But, in this phase of my life, living the dream to me means being healthy and physically fit. And so I do work out regularly with a trainer. I know I need the trainer to kick me in the butt because otherwise I won't do it. And I'm really committed to being healthy and fit. I'm older now, and I realize that this body isn't going to just be able to keep functioning the way I want it to forever without giving it some support. So I try to eat in a healthy way and make sure that I get some exercise. That's part of living the dream. You got
That
to do
is.
it.
Absolutely, and when you have the ability to have your schedule ideally the way that you want it, which you wanna help people get to that point.
Yeah.
I had this amazing person I saw at a one of these little random seminars one time, and he said, "Carve out the day in the ideal life that you wanna have." And I was like, "Well, I wanna do this, 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 this." And he's like, "Find out what's left, and that's the amount of time you have left to work." And I thought, "What a reverse
Ooh,
idea of
yeah.
make your schedule ideal, and then, I've got 30 minutes free this day, 2 hours free this day, and I have to make my business work in that time. It was
Yeah,
almost like pressing me. I liked the challenge of knowing, "Oh, man, what could
yeah.
I get accomplished in a couple hours a week instead of
Well,
40," right?
it's what do you place your priorities on, and like now, if I've got a workout with my trainer, that's that's not negotiable. I can't meet with a business contact or whatever, no, because I'm due at the gym. So I'm going to the gym. And
Yeah,
even days when I really don't want to go to the gym because I'm tired or not feeling well or something, I go to the gym, you know?
right. And you
Yeah.
guys have do you have the extreme, like 6 months of light and 6 months of dark? And it's not super high up there, right?
No, see, a little geography lesson here. Alaska is so big that the light and dark varies depending on how far north you go.
Mhm.
So where we are in Sitka, we're closer to Seattle than we are to Anchorage, and we're 1,000 miles south of Anchorage, 750 miles north of Seattle. Well,
Oh,
Fairbanks is another 300 or so miles north of Anchorage. And even in Fairbanks, they have some light in the winter and some dark in the summer. But you go north of Fairbanks above the Arctic Circle, and
mhm.
that's where you have uh, areas with the latitude being that far north that you have no sun above the horizon for a certain amount of time in the winter and no sun below the horizon for a certain amount of time in the summer. But you just, follow the latitude, and we're
Right.
quite a ways further south
Oh,
than
that's
that.
good.
So like right now here, it's staying light until 5:30. It's light at, 7:30 in the morning. It's kind of
Oh,
normal.
that's nice. Yeah, that's kinda
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah.
Everybody's forgets to realize how astronomically large it's the largest state by
But
multitudes over the
it's
size
over
of
over
Texas.
twice the size of Texas.
Yeah, right, is that
Yeah, it's,
crazy?
over 600,000 square miles.
Gosh.
So
Wow.
and just think about this, it's almost 1 square mile per person that lives in Alaska. So
Those are the funnest little fun facts. It's like, gosh, we didn't even know. I mean, I couldn't really point out some of the little Midwest states on a map necessarily, but I live in
yeah,
California. We gotta just stay over here.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Oh my
yeah.
goodness.
So, yeah, Alaska's just, like, huge, and at one time, we had 4 time zones until a governor legislated that it would be a single time zone
Oh
because we
my.
spread so far from, east to west.
How about that? That's incredible. Hey, at this point, I think everybody's thinking, "Oh my gosh, I need to know you. How do I
Okay.
find you? How do I come follow the things and the advice and these courses that you've created and the ones you are creating? What is your favorite method for someone to come find you?"
Well, I think the easiest way, is to go to my website, which is very simply ralwest.com. And on the website, you can sign up for my free webinar. It's like a 45-minute lesson on quite a few of the things that we've already talked about here, a little bit more in depth. There's also information about my course and lots of other freebies and copies of podcasts that I've been on, like this one. And another easy way to find me is on LinkedIn. Just
Yes.
again, just Ral West. I have a weekly newsletter that's free, and just subscribe to the newsletter. And it's every week. There's tips about some aspect of running your business. So it's really concrete information that you can use. I also have a YouTube channel, and you can subscribe to that. And there's videos posted there. So the website, LinkedIn, YouTube, all very
Absolutely.
easy.
Perfect,
And
and
if you
all
can
of
get,
those will
if
be in
you,
the show notes below,
yeah,
so you guys can click into that, follow her, friend her, connect with her, so that way you can get these nuggets of wisdom that she is pouring into everybody. I am so grateful that you were able to come and hang out with us. I say us, me, be on the show today.
yeah.
What are a few little nuggets you wanna leave with everybody before you go? Like, maybe a little tidbit.
Well, okay, I'll be repeating myself a little bit, but you cannot grow your business if you're trying to do it all yourself. You have to get some leverage. You have to duplicate yourself. That's it.
That's
No,
it.
no other. Yeah. And another nugget is get a mentor. Get
Ooh,
several mentors. Learn from
said
other
it.
people. You cannot know everything yourself. going to college isn't going to do it for you. You really have to find mentors, people who are doing what you want to do, and learn from them. Another thing is, don't limit yourself. You
Mm,
can really do anything that you want to do. Just, you have to believe in yourself. You have to have faith and trust and go for it. Take action. I think that's it. And lastly but not least, you're never too old.
yeah.
Never. Take care of yourself. Keep going and going, like the ever ready bunny.
That's awesome. Amazing. You are wonderful. I'm so grateful for all the moments that we've gotten a chance to spend together. I love what you were able to share with everybody in this episode. And everybody, you're going to go right now and go follow Friend Connect. So that way you can follow along on this journey. And if you're the right fit and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I need her to train me, teach me, let her know.
Yeah.
And we are just a call or a click away. And I'm so excited that you are with us today. Thank you again for your time. And
Oh,
I will see you guys on the next episode. Bye.
thanks, Tiffany.
Perfect. All right. I have it says it's almost uploaded on my side, so I'll just have you hang out for a couple minutes with me.
Yeah.
How
Okay.
did that feel?